If there's one word I can use to describe this generation of video games, it's going to have to be disappointing. 100% absolutely. With the fact that GPUs from both manufacturers of Nvidia and AMD haven't really been performing up to par, except for the 9070 XT, which honestly is the best bang for your buck if you can find it at MSRP, which really is kind of tough right now. At the same time, we've had these consoles come out and really not perform anywhere near what they were being bragged about performing at, to then also have a pro model of the PS5 costing now well over $800, very touching their toes into what the PC territory would offer as an entry point for a PC of similar actual performance, which really doesn't make a lot of sense now when you have to pay for online, pay for sub-services, and even then pay more for your games. So yeah, this generation of consoles and gaming hasn't really been the best in my opinion. Not to mention the overdone and overused price hikes, Nintendo adding variable pricing, increasing the cost of actual previous consoles like the Switch 1, and then of course increasing the cost of games to $80 and even the cost of their consoles, another $150 every single time. It's like these companies really have no idea what's in fact happening, and honestly I can see pretty much why. According to an article by VGC, more than 60% of US game players only buy 2 games or fewer per year, a survey finds. Only 4% buy more than 1 game a month, Circana data says. That's right, we're seeing the meme happen in real time. The majority of gamers pretty much only buy a couple of games a year, especially in the States. You're pretty much bang for the buck. It's either going to be FIFA, COD, or Madden. The rest of the time, they're playing free-to-play garbage live service games, whether it's even Warzone or Fortnite or Apex Legends. That's literally what's been happening in the gaming industry. People can blame Game Pass. They can blame ABK. They can blame the ruination of the gaming industry because they gotta jack up prices every single generation, which in reality, no, they don't. Well, honestly, when you think about it from this perspective, the fact that people are in fact spending less in the video game space pretty much goes to show they're trying to squeeze blood from a stone. No matter how many times these companies use the words market conditions, to me it really just exposes the fact that the market condition isn't the actual economy, it's the fact that they're trying to make the number go up, and they're relying on that small percentage of people supplementing the entire industry itself by charging them more every single time. And that's pretty much why I'm making this video, because yesterday it turns out Mark Cerny and AMD had to collaborate together to talk about the next generation of PlayStation consoles. According to WCCF Tech, Mark Cerny seems to tease the PlayStation 6 arrival in, quote, a few years' time. Okay, all right. I can already see how this is gonna go. We had to deal with this already for this generation specifically. Everybody losing their mind about what a solid state drive was, thinking that the SSD was the actual thing that created the graphics in video games. No, I didn't forget. Yes, you clowns, in fact, some of you did say that. I can also remember the entire idea of the Quacken compression technology that was being used in order to go ahead and compress video games down. The fact that we've had compression for the last 40 fucking years in video game development. But hey, I'm sure things are going to be completely normal in this video, right? No one's going to go ahead and just say things they shouldn't be saying like we see every single time. Like that one idiot clown moron who said the PS5 Pro was a 4090. No, I'm not going to let that go. Yes, you idiots, in fact, did say that.
You were like, I never do it. And guess what? This thing's more powerful than a 4090. It is. A friend of mine, he called me. He has a 4090. He was like, look, I struggle with this. You know, he said he's struggling with it because he's seen that this thing do things that the 4090 can't do. It's not going to do this. It's going to struggle.
But let's see what actually happened inside of the article with WCCF Tech and even some posts from AMD as well. Today, in a new video published by Sony and AMD, PlayStation console architect Mark Cerny and AMD Senior Vice President and General Manager of Computing and Graphics, Jack Hewen, talked about Project Amethyst and the two companies' quote shared vision for the future of gaming technologies and hardware. While most of the video was focused on what the 3 technologies will be, Cerny did slide in a slight tease for when we'll be seeing the PlayStation 6 and the next generation of hardware. saying, quote, "Overall, it's of course still very early days for these technologies. They only exist in simulation right now, but the results are quite promising, and I'm really excited about bringing them to a future console in a few years' time," Cerny said towards the end of the video after discussing advancements like neural arrays, radiance cores, and universal compression for most of the video. Now, honestly, I'm incredibly excited about these kinds of things. One of the biggest drawbacks AMD has had in the gaming space has been in its ray tracing. Rasterization has pretty much always been a strong suit for them. My 7900 XT does incredibly well for a lot of games, in fact, even right now, but I feel like that pricing point for that generation wasn't that great. The 9070 XT, though, has made pretty great leaps and bounds in ray tracing compared to what NVIDIA has been doing, but has not really been close to what's been happening right now in that space for ray tracing. So with ray tracing, NVIDIA still has the lead. However, though, if what they've been talking about does go incredibly well, you could be seeing ray tracing becoming more ubiquitous inside of gaming themselves. I, however, though, have had my own, let's say, ideas about what ray tracing in fact does, and personally, it creates way more bloat for a very small minimal gain visually in order to go ahead and use a lot of upscaling and AI to go and manufacture either fake frames or even then upscale resolution to compensate for that massive amount of overhead, having a worse image, having less fidelity, and even less frame rate, which in fact is the most important thing in any video game whatsoever, all because you want to have the shiny reflections and show off the actual iris in some video game character's eye on Twitter. The funniest thing, though, has to be some of the responses to AMD's tweet about the actual video. Check it out. With AMD posting at AMD Collaboration Drives Innovation in partnership with @PlayStation, Project Amethyst represents a leap forward in machine-based learning graphics and gameplay technology, and the new technology breakthroughs are just a glimpse of what the future of gaming will bring. Watch now. With Arthur replying, "Don't bother watching, they talk for 8 minutes and show nothing, just speculating of the possibilities of future products." And after watching the entire 8-minute video and seeing these two just talk the entire time, they were just basically doing that exact thing, conversing about what would be happening in the future and how they would be working towards implementing more ray tracing and machine learning into gaming and actual GPUs as well. So really, nothing actually came of that. However, though, there is one problem that I feel could be a big factor in all of this, and that pretty much is the possible price of next generation. We've seen AMD somewhat try to be competitive in certain aspects, and when they do, they're basically just taking really bad playbook pages out of NVIDIA's own book, and then at the same time try to price themselves in the same exact way of what NVIDIA does, basically just shooting themselves in the foot on a consistent basis and falling apart at the end space. Even as someone who has a full AMD build, I can see the issues that AMD does put on themselves on a consistent basis. The 9070 XT could have been a lot better if it was more available, basically just across the board, not just at Micro Centers physically at MSRP, and even better at $100 less. But the thing is, that's not enough for this industry right now, as so many people just clamor for things like NVIDIA, signifying that you need a 5090 or even more to go through and game properly in today's space, when in reality, that GPU isn't really made for games at all. It's made for Blender animations and stuff like that. I mean, that's pretty much what it's made for. It's not a gaming GPU. Sorry to tell you, it's a workstation GPU. That's kind of how things go. And this is where I could see AMD having a big issue. We talked about this in a previous video where there was a rumor going around how AMD was basically asking Microsoft for 10 million units in terms of actual usage for the Xbox dedicated handheld SoC. And instead, they went with an OEM provider like ASUS to make that Xbox handheld available. Could they do the same exact thing to PlayStation? And what kind of cost would be implemented in these next generation of consoles? If we're seeing things like the PS5 Pro being at $750 before the disk drive, we could possibly see another high price markup for next generation, especially with what Jack Hewen is trying to say with what they're going to be doing in terms of GPUs as well. Jack Hewen tweeted this: "From Project Amethyst to a shared vision, I welcome my good friend and fellow gamer @Cerny to Austin, where we reflected on the future that @AMD and PlayStation are shaping together the future of gaming. Together, we explored the breakthroughs in hardware design, the rise of machine learning-driven experiences, and the innovations that will define the next decade of interactive entertainment." Now, just going to be real, he's going to break down exactly what was in the video in these next couple of tweets, so get ready for some information overload. Neural arrays. Instead of a bunch of compute units working separately, we've built an array for them to team up, sharing data and processing together like a single focused AI engine. This changes the game for neural rendering, bigger machine learning models, less overhead, more efficiency, and far greater scalability as workloads grow. Radiance cores, a new dedicated hardware block designed for unified light transport. It handles ray tracing and path tracing in real time, pushing lighting performance to a whole new level. This lets a GPU focus on what it does best, shading the scene. The result, a cleaner, faster, and more efficient pipeline built for the next generation of ray-traced games. And finally, universal compression, a system that evaluates every piece of data headed to memory, not just textures, and compresses it wherever possible. Only the essential bytes are sent, dramatically reducing memory bandwidth usage. This means a GPU can deliver more detail, higher frame rates, and greater efficiency. And basically, in layman's terms, for someone who's been PC gaming for about 30 plus years, it means this: FSR is going to get an update, it's going to run better, possibly look better, hopefully, and then just do things a lot easier and provide you a better image overall. Ray tracing, they'll probably catch up to NVIDIA in some capacity or way, and they'll be implementing more path tracing, so you're not going to get 2 FPS when you're playing. And finally, they're going to still keep doing things like 8 GB VRAM cards, because they're going to try and just do compression of everything instead of just giving you more VRAM in the first place. So in reality, we're possibly going to be still having the same issues we're having right now, even though they're going to be doing a lot of compression for things in the future to make things run better. So get ready for that kind of exciting experiment, paying $600 to $700 for 8 GB of VRAM in 2028. I think that's going to still be a problem, honestly, moving forward. And that also goes right back to what I was talking about before with the PlayStation 6. We've seen people saying, like Moore's Law is dead, that the next generation console will be $499. Look, I'd like to be incredibly hopeful about that kind of thing as well, but I feel like it's going to be a tough thing to hit, especially with AMD and how they've been pricing a lot of their things so far. This kind of behavior really goes to show that these companies are going to be charging you more, and you're going to be getting less in return overall. If they're adding more things like upscalers, machine learning, and other ways of not giving you actually better products, but instead cutting edges and corners to make them work at the very moment in time without providing any true leaps in performance. And I think that's where we're going to see a lot of issues moving forward. Sure, the GPUs may in fact have better ray tracing, but in pure rasterization, what kind of performance uplift are we in fact going to be seeing? And I think that's going to be a big problem as well. The fact that so many other publishers and developers are forcing things like ray tracing, not because it looks pretty, but honestly because a lot of games just use that instead of having to do proper baked-in lighting on their own. Even though the baked-in lighting makes the game perform infinitely better, it saves them time on the back end in development without having to do that. And that could be where a lot of devs move forward. The ubiquitous usage of things like Unreal Engine 5, where every game over and over keeps using it, and at the same time still dealing with those insane stutters that so many people have to deal with over and over again. If you really want to impress somebody in next generation, my personal opinion is going to be 60 FPS. That's pretty much it. It has to be the standard. You get a good frame rate, a good ability to play the game, and even going above that, that would be the right way of doing things. The whole graphical thing, I think that's where things are going to fall apart, and you're going to be seeing massive diminishing returns, but paying far more for those pieces of hardware every single time. We see it in the PC space, and now we're seeing it in the console space as well, because these boxes are nothing more than just closed down PCs that are form factors. They run off x86 architecture. They're all made by AMD. They have specific SoCs. And the craziest part is everybody thinks there's some kind of magic in a box, like a unicorn just walked in and jacked off into one of them. But I think the crazier part is how fanboys are behaving with this news. PorterRock77 on Twitter said this: PlayStation and AMD will bring true cutting-edge advancement in console technology, not some bullshit hybrid fake shit. The future of powerful console technology going forward is in the hands of PlayStation. Xbox is dead. I truly cannot believe that we are getting close to the year of 2026 right now, and this dude is still console warring to this day. My boy has been saying Xbox is dead for the better part of 10 years, and the boy is still trumpeting that horn. It's honestly wild to see. And the crazy part is, I don't know if anybody didn't tell him or not, but AMD's also doing the Xbox console, so I don't really understand why you think this is like a big win for you for some reason. I would hope he understands that AMD is making all the SoCs for practically everybody in the gaming industry, so saying something so ridiculous really wouldn't make a lot of sense now, would it? And the crazier part is to act as if Xbox wouldn't have almost the same kind of technology either in their console. And being part of a hybrid bullshit, my boy, your console has been a hybrid console for the last 5 years. Hell, even before this generation, since the PS4, you've had your games halfway on the disc. You've had to download the majority of your games, be online, pay for that online service, wait for patches, wait for pro patches, which is even funnier, buying brand new hardware that you can't even utilize without the developer giving you the patch to use it. Brother, you might as well just get yourself a PC and not deal with all the heartaches and issues that you're dealing with right now. Really, you'd be far better off in the first place. Here's James Act on Twitter saying, Xbox not helping, crying laughing emoji. Amethyst does not have a green color. I'm telling you, this content's really never gonna end. Like, I've tried to avoid making fanboy content for a couple of months, and honestly, it's done incredibly well. But the thing is, these dudes complain about me all the time. Oh, Alex, you're always making videos about us and talking bad. Well, because you guys say dumb shit like this on Twitter. The console wars are never going to end. PlayStation put Helldivers onto Xbox. PlayStation is putting games onto PC closer and closer to day and date. Xbox is putting their games onto PlayStation. We saw before how such small amounts of people are actually buying more than 2 games a year. To sit here and think like your exclusivity is what's important in keeping your console together really is the most insane thing to see. And talking about now the colors of projects, as if that's going to be like a thing moving forward. Again, like these boys don't know that AMD is literally working together with Xbox for their new console, if it doesn't get canceled, and to put that out as well. These consoles are not going to be very different from each other. They're going to have small variations, but you're not going to see a massive gulf chasm between the two on their performance, especially on the upper end of them, unless there's like some really weird S model for the both of them. That's the only way you're going to see a difference, honestly. Am I actually going to have to deal with this for another entire generation of PlayStation fanboys acting this ridiculous, saying how the next PlayStation 6 is going to be equivalent to a 6090 or everything else on that end? But the craziest part will be that they'll gladly spend, what, $800 plus on the next generation console and still talk about how PC gaming is too expensive. You guys are too busy looking into things like colors of a project rather than actually seeing what's going to be happening in the gaming space altogether. But hey, it still gets worse. Here's J-Dub on Twitter saying this: Mark Cerny and AMD got path tracing as a standard feature on the PlayStation 6 using universal compression on the GPU. Tons of new technology being designed and developed with Sony and AMD. PS6 to launch in a few years, according to Mark Cerny. He said they are still cooking. Here we go again. Here we go again. We went from the SSD being the brand new thing to now path tracing being the brand new thing, even though PC gaming has been having path tracing, having it as a standard for in fact quite some time. And the fact that GPUs right now can barely even run it. Even the most expensive GPUs can't run it unless they're using things like frame generation and massive amounts of upscaling. Even Nvidia in their own panels can't do it correctly. And to think that your PlayStation 6 console is going to be doing it as a standard feature is going to be really funny to see. Another generation of you clowns having to have the exact same visuals as mid-gen PCs, and then at the same time still dealing with things like 30 FPS to go through, have 3 to 4 years of that console gen, pay another exorbitant price for another upgraded console to wait for patches for that console to be used in the first place, and then talk about how great your console is compared to PC gaming, because you can't build a PC for $800 to $1,000 to match a console like we see every single generation. How tired are you guys with this same song and dance. We've had this shit happen since the original Xbox, then the Xbox 360, then the Xbox One, then the Xbox One X, and now the Series consoles as well. And you guys keep falling for that same trap over and over again. Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity? It's me thinking I was going to catch a break from idiots on Twitter saying the dumbest shit about video games of all time. Look, I'm incredibly concerned about this next generation, especially with the news like we talked about earlier, where so few people are in fact providing all the money in this gaming space, while they are going through and instead playing massive amounts of free-to-play games and live service games instead that don't require copious new pieces of hardware every 5 to 6 years, that don't need high-end PCs to run or high-end consoles to play. You're looking at a veritable small amount of people compared to what we see normally all the time that would spend all that money in the gaming space, and they're going to keep jacking those prices up. I would absolutely love to see consoles go back to $499 like they were supposed to be. I would love to see the PS5 be $299 like it's supposed to be. The Pro being $499 like it's supposed to be. GPUs going back to the $199 mark as the entry point or mid-range of what they're supposed to be, with far more than just 8 gigabytes of VRAM on the fucking card, where we weren't just sitting here relying on DLSS and FSR to give us the frame generation or the frame rates we're supposed to get in the first place. I want that world to come back, but I feel like we are literally singing prayers for that to happen, because if they're charging you $800 for a PS5 Pro with the disk drive attached to it, plus and online, and increasing prices and using the terms like market conditions to raise the cost of Game Pass and everything else, I don't see the future of consoles being an affordable entry point anymore. And with companies like AMD and PlayStation and even Xbox working together, basically creating an oligopoly in the gaming space, I can absolutely see these next generation of consoles costing far more money and providing you with a lot less features, and just trying to pivot just one or two things that make you go, ooh, shiny, like jingling keys in front of a fucking baby. And I think that's going to be the worst thing of all, because if they don't provide proper actual rasterization, good amounts of frame rates, and something more than just machine learning upscaling, we're going to see a diminishing return every single generation. And we're going to see game developers try to push more things like specular lighting and reflections and bullshit in the games, rather than actually focusing on having a good game being built in the first place. Apparently, eye candy has trumped all, and I think that's where we're going to see a big downturn in video games altogether. The crash is coming, and I feel like next gen is going to be make or break. But you know what? Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Are you excited about AMD? Are you worried as well? Do you think that these next gen consoles are going to be affordable or even expensive? I want to hear what you guys have to say. If you want to see more of this kind of content, more PC port reviews, gaming news, Steam Deck videos, fanboy content, live streams every Saturday night, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, subscribe to the channel. We are on our way to 96K, and I just want to say thank you guys so very much. It really does mean the world to me. If you want Discord access or emotes during live streams, become a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. If you don't want to give the buck, don't sweat it. Just show up Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, live right here on this channel, as I wear a banana suit and get insulted by 700 to 800 people with AITTS. Trust me, it's a hell of a show. You don't want to miss it. Saturday nights, 8:45, live right here. With all that being said, though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you gooners next time. Peace!